Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey. My guest today is Greg Osury, who is the CEO and founder of Akash. Hello, Greg. How you doing, man?
Doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
thank you. Overclock, the founder of Akash. So Akash doesn't have CEOs, as you know.
Oh, okay. So that's wrong. So you're not the CEO, but you are the founder of Akash.
I'm one of the founders, core contributors of Akash. Akash is built by, I guess, 500 people now, close to 500 people.
Holy shit. I didn't realize it was that big. Well, let's talk a little bit about like what it is first before we sort of dive down into the rest of it. So the way I've heard it described, and my understanding, is that it's basically sort of like the Airbnb of cloud computing. So the idea is you, person out there with excess compute, sell it to the Akash network and you can make money. And on the other end, if you're a customer, if you're someone looking for cloud services, you pay in crypto, but it costs about 1/5 what AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud cost. So you can pay 5 times as much with Amazon, or you can use Akash, right? I mean, that's kind of awesome.
You nailed it. And that's the value prop. But more importantly, Akash, I think why, right? Why is this thing exist? And like, yeah, cheap compute and all that is great, but really it is the world's first super cloud, right? And that's open source and permissionless. What a super cloud means is this, right? Like we have cloud grade compute in the sense like compute is all of us what we use every day, and there's regular desktop professional home compute to cloud grade compute in the sense that compute that can host other people's files and capable of serving on the internet, right? There's quite a lot of cloud grade compute available. People like me that have servers at home is one part, but also companies that have servers in data centers that only use them maybe 5% of the time, right? Because and the primary reason is you use that compute during load times. Like if you're someone like Intuit that does TurboTax, right? People file taxes in April. Like 11 months of the year, they use the compute maybe like 1%, but during that 1 month, they use the compute 90%, 95%. Right?
Yeah, it's a classic reason why Amazon, I mean, they basically, you build for the surge, you build for the spike. But most of the time, you're not in spike time. It's not Christmas all the time. You got the other 11 months of the year. So it's just sort of sitting there doing nothing, right?
So Amazon had the same exact problem about 20 years ago. They're obviously a retailer, and they've had a lot of compute during the .com boom. They bought enormous amounts of data centers all over the world. And, the boom burst, and now they have this compute underutilized. And they've noticed that most of the time the compute is not used. So that's when the idea for AWS came of, hey, how about leasing this out? Because we have built essentially internet-grade compute infrastructure that we are only used by Amazon. Why not give this out to people that can use worldwide and take advantage of it? That's how Amazon was created. So what AWS did for Amazon is what Akash is doing for the rest of the world.
That is amazing. Yeah, I recently listened to an All In podcast episode where Dave Friedberg, who's one of the four besties, he attended a Google event and he learned some things that he didn't realize because he hasn't been deep in the weeds on cloud. And he was like, most of the people today. They multi-home their cloud computing. So it's not all AWS. They're using sort of Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure Cloud, and AWS. And there's a lot of interoperability and sort of services between them. And AWS has by no means conquered the earth. I thought everybody was using AWS. And apparently it's totally up for grabs. Like there is a lot of competition. There's way more competition in the cloud world than you would think. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, especially recently, right? So what's happening is historically AWS had the lead. I mean, they still do have the lead, but the lead is, coming down quite a lot compared to the others. And the reason they had the lead was when AWS began, it was very simple to use API-based commoditized compute, right? It is not your specialized compute, but commoditized compute. And they started adding specialized layers on top of that. That's how they're able to get this proprietary technology, essentially only Amazon had, right? But then open source came, and Google and Microsoft of the world, and Google really, I think, pioneered this idea of using containers and came up with this infrastructure protocol or framework called Kubernetes. This is 2013. This is when I started working with Kubernetes, by the way. This is my entry into the cloud. My entry away from the exit away from AWS. I've been using AWS since 2007. So
so pretty early. Yeah, so have I. I was one of the early users as well.
What Google did was they commoditized compute to a point where they removed the proprietary stuff that Amazon was claiming when it comes to like fault tolerance and orchestration, all that, away from Amazon and made it open source. So open source is responsible for, number one, even building Amazon, but also responsible for reducing the lead in the cloud market share, right? And now what's happening is with AI, no one has the stronghold or the moat like they used to, right? Before, Amazon and Google of the world had purchasing power, whereas now most of the chips, almost all the chips are made by, 80% of the chips that are used by AI is made by NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is a real daddy.
They're the Mac daddy now of the world, right? They're telling everybody what to do.
And they control who they want to give the chips, and they're obviously optimizing for direct to customers, right? So you need to get authorization from NVIDIA to purchase any hardware now, right? Because we purchase hardware here and there, and they will not give it to you if you're a hyperscaler. They'll only give it to you if you purchase smaller units, because they want more customers, they want more diversified customer base, they want more distributed, they want it more saturated, and they want to know the customers really well. So that they can have the stories and the use cases, and they can develop product better, right? So they're trying to get to the customers as directly as possible, and they're deprioritizing clouds and prioritizing smaller clouds or hyperscalers, right? So that's why you see core.
Now, why is that? Like, if you're NVIDIA, why would you deprioritize big clouds in favor of little guys?
For a few reasons. One is the big clouds always had some level of competition with NVIDIA. Like if you look at TPUs from Google's own, accelerated compute based on TensorFlow called TPUs. So TensorFlow was a very popular machine learning package not too long ago, and TPUs were optimized to run TensorFlow models. So Google had a lead with GPUs for a little bit, right, with TPUs, and Amazon had, I forgot the exact name, but their own accelerated compute, and even Microsoft, all of them have their own accelerated compute projects that are live. So they were competing with NVIDIA at that point. Now, NVIDIA, obviously, in the last 5 years just took off, right? They've been at it for like 10 years, but last 5 years is really the big ascension for NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And they tried to get into the cloud business with DGX Cloud. They failed miserably because they couldn't secure enough power to do a 20 megawatt data center. And we don't really talk much about it. The real bottleneck for scalability is not compute at a scale. It's really the power. Right?
It's power,
and power is heavily regulated in the United States. So it's a whole thing we can talk about. But decentralization of power is very needed.
Right. So if you're building a data center, you want to centralize your data center. You have to have just a shit ton of power in one place. But if you decentralize everything, then you can just use regular power. Right, it's not. You don't have these massive power requirements. It's concentrated geographically in one place.
There are challenges to have heavily distributed clusters. Latency and whatnot, but we can get to that from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes, the biggest bottleneck right now. Say you have all the money to purchase all the compute and all the good stuff and all the supply chain, getting that power. So NVIDIA tried to build their own cloud. They're not cloud people. They're chip people, right? They're not cloud business, and they failed miserably. So instead of trying to build their own cloud, they started investing in the smaller guys, Corvies, Lambdas, the smaller tier 2 providers, right? So today, if you're a machine learning dev, if you try to go, your typical route to go to Amazon and try to lease compute, it's impossible to get compute on Amazon because they're all sold out. Right? The big guys, Amazon and Microsoft of the world, are going to optimize for long contracts with big guys. They're not going to look at small guys that want 8-10 chips for on demand, right? So it's impossible to get H100s or A100s, which is the most advanced GPUs from directly from Amazon or the hyperscalers or Google's or Microsoft's. So what you do is you go to the smaller guys, the tier 2s, and get into long contracts to get access to the chips. You need to get minimum 1-year contract, pay 25 to 30% upfront, maybe even sometimes even 50% upfront
Jesus.
for 2 to 3 months to get the chips and then have access to it. And if you're a startup, 3 months is a lifetime in a startup.
That's death. Yeah, that's startup death.
AI startup, the rate at which the models are evolving means the rate at which your needs change as well. So today you may need A6000s, tomorrow you want B200s because things are changing so fast. So startups are right now caught up in this cycle. It's really sad to see companies go down like Banana Dev and all these shut down doors because they cannot get the chips that they want in the price point and the terms that they want, right? The best terms are on demand. That means use it when you want and get rid of it when you don't want. That's what the whole AWS model is built upon. And that's not available anymore. So now Amazon of the world are losing market share for people that have the chips. And guess who has the chips? I mean, it's the smaller guys. And Akash, right? Like Akash now, very recently about in Semaphore, they interviewed a Columbia student, and I had no idea this was going on because the Columbia student was like, look, I've been trying to get an A100 on AWS, and I couldn't, but I go to Akash, and I could get one for $1, and like I did my job. And we see those stories because Akash, most of our users tend to be smaller startups, people that need 10 to 8 chips, they want to do like a little fine tuning or inference or a little training now with all the Llama 3s and all that good stuff happening. But they don't have big bucks, so that's usually that type of.
Let me stop you there because I want to talk a little bit about, what your characteristics are versus AWS. At least as I understand it. So back when I was a CTO and doing that whole gig for multiple companies over a period of decades, as Amazon evolved, basically the advantage is that all of the hardware was abstracted away from you. You didn't have to think about what chip was on what computer. You didn't even think about that. You just thought about, like with Lambda, it's just power, and you just use it, and you don't have to think about the hardware layer at all. However, that's not how a cache works. So when you go into a cache, at least my understanding of it is, you actually see a marketplace of providers and specific chips and machines loaded in a certain configuration, and it's sort of like a bazaar. We're like, hey, I got 10 of these computers with this chip on it over here, and that guy, set up in this way. Is that correct? So it's not as abstracted as what I'm trying to say. It's very sort of specific.
Container level, so a Linux container level. Right?
Yeah.
So you get the granularity in the selection capability of the cache, but you don't need to go to the granularity unless you need it. And that's one of the better parts of a cache because you don't get that with the regular cloud. So some use cases require hyper granular selection in terms of the chipset, in terms of type of memory you want, your DDR, your storage, your GPUs are very granular in terms of what kind of hardware you want, because GPUs are very hardware specific, right? It's counter pattern to your abstracted compute model or your functional service model. Akash, you get the granularity, but you don't need to. You can be like, hey, just run me this container and give me 5 gigs of memory. It'll do it for you too. But having that level of granularity and the orchestration that comes along with it is one of the key aspects and reasons why it makes Akash very powerful. But it also makes it a little more complicated to use compared to your typical lambdas of the world.
Yeah.
With the power comes complexity, right? There's just no trade-off. I mean, the trade-offs are like the more abstraction, the less capable the system becomes. Now, you look at Lambda, right? Like functional service, you get the ease of use, but your costs go through the roof.
Yeah, the cost is insane. That's absolutely true.
Why? Because, you have the authentication overhead for every single call, right? If you have multiple functions, you got to re-authenticate because each of these are sitting on an HTTP layer somewhere, right? Independently, with supposedly these microservices that are considered to be independent, that you can orchestrate and all the good stuff. Then, what about latency? Where's your database located, right? So the amount of time it takes to write to the database is latency. The higher the latency, the longer it takes to fulfill a request, and is higher the cost, right? So all these little things add up eventually. So the more control you have, the lower cost you get. In fact, there was a blog post on Amazon blog itself that talked about getting rid of Lambda to save money or something stupid like that.
Yeah. So
Like,
okay. So yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about who's using this. So I read on your website that you've actually got some pretty big customers. So this is you've made a practical product. You've built it in the crypto universe partially, which is great. But you have real customers like WordPress, Drupal, Ghost, Minecraft, Pac-Man, Super Mario Brothers. Well, Super Mario. And then in the DeFi universe, you've got Uniswap, Bancor, Curve, and Thorchain using your stuff. Correct?
Wait, I don't know about the. Wait, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I found this list. I think I saw this on your site. So, well, you have real customers, right?
So not Minecraft is not a customer, right? I mean, so we have like maybe you're looking at Awesome Akash, which is like the stuff you can run on Akash.
Yeah.
WordPress is certainly not Akash's users. Even though I'm friends with Matt Mullenweg, the CEO of WordPress, but that's a complete separate story. But WordPress is not using Akash. You can deploy WordPress on Akash. The people that pay money to use Akash in the decentralized sphere, a lot of the Cosmos folks. I mean, I think like 40% of Cosmos runs on Akash. All the Osmosis and most of the websites and most of the dApps run on Akash, right? On the AI side, our latest and the biggest user is News Research, as you may know, News, right?
Yep.
So I believe they are training their next model on Akash. Can't speak for the specific. News team will probably write a case study very soon. News is one of the biggest users of Akash. We have BitTensor folks. A lot of the miners are running on Akash right now.
Yes, that I know.
And a lot of miners think like Manifold Labs running on Akash. I think subnet 4 that is. They're doing pre-training on Akash as well. Last I heard from Consri, from Jacob. And I heard subnet 27 is using Akash pretty heavily.
Yes. I actually just talked to those guys yesterday. So yes, they are definitely using it.
Then Thumper is another startup that did a full foundational model training from scratch on Akash using 24,000 A100 hours, which is the first example, I think, a decentralized network is used to train a model, a foundation model. It took about 2 months to train. That's one of the bigger use cases. Morpheus, which is Eric Voorhees' new protocol, they're doing really well. I think they've raised crazy 300 million. It's one of those crazy numbers. Was it 300 million in like locked ETH or something like that? To do this like permissionless AI, that's completely running on Akash now. I think.
Yeah, we had them on the show I think it was like 10 episodes ago. So yeah, so they're doing great.
Runs on Akash, right? So I think a lot of the value. Speron is another company that recently did integration, and the uptick in leases came from them. I mean, they were like giving crazy amounts of leases. And that's a lot of validators. I think it's Koi Network that has about 4,000, 5,000 nodes running on Akash or something crazy like that. So yeah, it's every day is some new customers that are coming up. But I would say like Noose is probably like the most prominent one right now, doing AI stuff on Akash.
Okay, so what is the experience like when I come as a customer and I want to buy your services? Do I see like a bazaar of all the providers and I pick which one I want? Or do I just sort of tell me what it's like, and then I pay in what crypto, and how does that work?
Right. So the process as a user begins with describing your workload in a language we created called Stack Definition Language, or SDL we call it. It is very, very similar to Docker Compose. So you know how you can orchestrate different services in Docker Compose and different containers, and you specify additional stuff that's not in Docker Compose and Akash, like the placement, location you want, the granular requirements you want in terms of memory and all that good stuff that you want, the amount you're willing to pay for the resources, your maximum like allowed bit amount, and there's also verification. So there's quite a lot of stuff on top of in storage. You can do network storage, IP addresses. Akash, another key feature of Akash people don't talk much about is one of the largest IP address marketplaces in the world, because you need dedicated IPs to do like dedicated ports and whatnot, right? So you specify all that in the SDL file. You place that on blockchain, and you get a bunch of bits. And there are multiple clients to use Akash, about 8 different clients. most of them non-custodial. At least the official client is self-custodial, right? There are managed clients like Speron, where it's managed, your wallet is managed by another company. That's what you want. But most of our folks like the non-custodial nature of it, the permissionless nature of it. And so you need a wallet. Kepler and I think Leap is the two wallets that support Akash right now. And Akash is layer one, so it's an independent chain. And
Right. I was going to ask about that. So it is its own. So you do have your own Akash chain and your own token on that chain. And what is the chain sort of based? Is it an EVM chain or is it something else?
It's a Cosmos SDK based chain.
Cosmos. Okay.
Akash is the first IBC compatible chain in the ever, right? Like in history. So IBC is Cosmos is inter-blockchain communication protocol. The first IBC transaction happened between Akash and our Cosmos Hub. So Akash has been around for a while in terms of like being live. It's very stable. It's an app chain, so it's the entire blockchain is dedicated to one application, which is Akash. So that gives a lot of sovereignty. This gives a lot of design, a lot of experimentation we can do in design space, and it works really well. Right? It never goes down. That's why you see me doing a lot of live demos on
right.
weirdest of the places. Like I did a live demo in 15 minutes on Denver main stage. It works, right? So that you get some of the benefits of sovereignty is you get stability and scalability, and you have a lot of freedom to do a lot of things. The trade-offs, but that's a big advantage. And you place that, you pay a small fee in gas. You place that, you place that order on the order book, and you get a bunch of bids from providers that match the order. Right. And then
right. So sorry, let me just back up and repeat to you what I think I heard. So I'm a customer. I use your language to describe the cloud product that I want. I'm like, I need 10 of these machines configured in this way and blah, 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 blah. And that goes onto your blockchain as a bid. And so it is actually on the blockchain. That's where the bidding happens, right?
Yeah.
And then the providers all see me go, they see the customer and they all submit their proposals, right? So then on the blockchain also, I assume.
Yeah,
and I got to have some of your coin kind of loaded. I have to have a wallet for your chain and some of your coin loaded. So I'm ready to, to pay people, right? And also to pay a little bit of gas for the process of putting my order up in the system. And then they come back and I get the bids in and then I select one on chain.
Yeah, it's very important. The selection is done by you and not by the system. That we have a lot of control because, like I said, granularity is impossible to do a matching because you don't know. Sometimes you'll just see a higher bid from a different provider that has higher reputation and also, better memory or something like that. So ultimately, you know what you want. I mean, you're the only one who probably knows what you want, and having that flexibility and freedom to choose is very important. Happy to give you a demo. It'll take maybe 2 minutes or less, or 30 seconds or less, if you want.
Yeah. I will. Actually, let me just ask you one more question. Yes, I want you to do a demo. Would you give me one question? So, the providers, I assume that you require them to be doxed, or can they be anonymous?
Good question. It can be by anonymous by default, but there is a capability called audited attributes. In the sense, there's a decentralized set of auditors that audit different providers because it's permissionless, it's anonymous. You can get anybody and everybody on the network, and that presents different challenges. Like how do you know who's safe and all that stuff, right? So for general purpose compute, you cannot do verifiability. That's impossible, just from a technical standpoint, right?
Yeah.
For general purpose, you can do special purpose, but so for general purpose, when you don't have the verifiability capability, what happens is you have the auditors that go and audit different providers. Really, they're auditing the attributes providers are advertising. The provider says, "I'm Equinix" or "I'm Foundry." There's an auditor that goes and audits that claim by verifying their identity. And it's more important when you have like compliance, right? You have SOC, HIPAA, and different things you can be compliant for serving different workloads. Like we have a huge healthcare customer. I don't talk much about them, but they're using Akash for HIPAA compliant data. So you have that capability as well. So you want these auditors to go and verify the HIPAA compliance and post that proof on chain. And you as and they have, they do optimistic verification. So they send different jobs to different providers randomly to make sure that these providers are not cheating. And if there is some fraud detected, they post that fraud proofs and whatnot. So there's that regulating system. Only in those cases, the providers are doxed. And most of the time, these providers are big companies. So they don't care about not being doxed or anything. right? So in fact, sometimes when you're a docs provider, your reputation is higher because people trust you. Higher.
Right. Right.
But again, you could be much higher. But if you have a workload that doesn't care about privacy, like for example, if I'm doing training, right, it's a MapReduce job. I don't care about privacy. Versus I'm trying to store some healthcare data where I need a lot of privacy, right? So if your job doesn't require privacy, you don't need auditability, right? So and then you can just go with benchmarking. You can just go and be like, look, I can do a resource hard function benchmark where I know I'm getting the right resource that I want, and if I'm satisfied with the provider, just go with it. So yeah, so optionally you may be docs.
Got it. Now, last question, then I'll let you do your demo. So, why do I have to pay in crypto? Why did you not implement this decentralized cloud computing thing using fiat rails? Was it just too hard, or too slow? Like, what was the reasoning behind making everyone pay in crypto?
Well, so digital currencies are just better currency from a technical standpoint, right? Like look at settlement, look at the speed of settlement, the guarantees for settlement, look at the streaming capability. I mean, modern currencies are very, very good, right? Like the streaming capabilities, the escrow capabilities, and the cost really, like paying 2% odd cost for and the extra every time you have a credit card. First of all, the credit card company requires a whole lot of like compliant requirements, right? In order to even use them, right? And
right.
Get shut down. Credit cards are banks. I mean, dealing with banks, we all know how.
Yeah, it's bad. I agree. I just wanted to hear. I didn't know if there was like another reason that I wasn't thinking of.
More importantly, like where do you secure these credentials? Like, okay, if you have like a credit card processor, you need API keys or something like that, right? Where do you keep all that stuff, right? Okay, well, I pay using credit card. Where is that credit card stored? Where is that information? What are the guarantees that my information is not exposed to parties that I'm don't want to? So all kinds of risks, right? Like, and credit cards are just arcane. They're like 40-year-old technology. They're not built for the internet age. I mean, they're not like,
yeah.
More
well, I'll tell you what occurred to me as I was thinking about. Somebody said something very, very smart. I thought, which is that AI, the only form of money that an AI can directly own is crypto, right? Because the AI can own a crypto wallet, whereas an AI might be able to use a credit card, but that credit card is owned by a human somewhere, right? And who has to have a fiat bank account somewhere, whereas an AI, can directly own their own crypto. So in this instance, if an AI wanted to get cloud computing services now, it has a way to do it directly using crypto. It can requisition its own resources and keep building itself more arms and legs, if you will, using your system. And it couldn't do that in Amazon, right? Like there would be no way. Right. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Agents are going to use cryptos, no doubt. And what's funny, like, so I have this come and take it T-shirt with Akash and Bitcoin, right? So Akash in Sanskrit means the sky. And the reason we chose the name is because, sky is where the clouds are formed. Sky is considered the first sort of like element in the universe and all the good stuff, right? So cloud of clouds, the super cloud is the sky. Akash is the sky.
Got it.
Net, if you translate that to English, you're old enough to remember.
Akash net in English?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, no. I'm not following.
Skynet.
Oh, Skynet. Got it. Okay, I'm an idiot. You're right. Gotcha. Now I'm with you.
So what happens when you have an unstoppable GPU network that functions only on crypto, where when machines are used, there's no way to tell who's a machine or a human, and when machines are used, no one can stop them.
Got it. Actually, when you started going all Hindu mythology on me, so I started thinking of Indra's net. I thought you were like somehow going there.
Oh, so, Indra's net. Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but never mind.
Indra's net, right? Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It's God of the universe or something like that. But yeah, and another day I saw, a few years ago. It's funny enough. Talk about how terrible fiat and all that is. Like, this is a real story, right? I saw someone on the internet, this kid in Africa, right? I think think he's in high school or early college. I don't know, but he doesn't have a credit card. And he wanted then without a credit card, you can't use the cloud. You know, like
Yes.
and 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 he was on the internet, and he was on Twitter, and he was trying to deploy on Akash, and he was like, can someone send me some tokens or something? And I think someone sent him tokens, and he deployed on Akash, and he was so happy. And it made me think, like, the first experience for this human being for a cloud is Akash, and it's non-fiat, right? There are about 1 billion people in the world that don't have credit cards, and that means they don't have access to the cloud. That means, I mean, the amount of talent we are like leaving behind is so enormous. I mean, when you look at Africa, most like folks are undocumented or unbanked, right? Like, because they don't have IDs, they don't have this kind of stuff. And look at the population; they're like on the human, like the population index. I think Africa is going to be the continents in general. I think is going to be the most popular continent in the next 30, 40 years because they have the highest fertility rate, right? I think it's like
Yeah.
six per 100 folks or something like crazy, right? So it's easy to see like the future generation that's unbanked, that's getting used to using crypto as a primary ways to pay for things, are going to be paying, are going to be Akash's like users, right? So yes, it is the future. It is the next generation. Yeah, there's crypto. I mean, there's fiat on ramps. I mean, there are two different clients now that are building on Akash. One is Speron. Speron accepts fiat, and also
Yep.
very soon we'll be announcing, Brev.dev. I think by the time this episode comes out, it'll be good. Brev is one of the most widely used machine learning platforms as a service. They're considered to be the Vercel of machine learning. They're very popular in machine learning world. I mean, they're like in front page of Hacker News every other week. So they're very, very good at it, and they're starving for GPUs, and they're announcing the integration, and they're fully fiat. So you go to Brev, you don't even realize that you're using Akash on the back end. I mean, you see the logos and all that stuff, but you pay using credit card, you get a free $10 credit or something like that. It's just as good as, even better than using Vercel, right? So one of the key decisions we made early in the process of building Akash is to build 99% of it, not 100%. What that 1% is the last mile where the user touches Akash, right? Yes, using Akash is, it is command line. You need to know containers. You need to know all these systems level, knowledge. It's just not something that a web dev can just go deploy. I mean, it's not really designed that way. It's designed for builders. Right? It's designed so that 1% will be solved by, thousands of people with their own way of solving, their own opinions, and thereby capturing value. Right? Like, that's why Subnet 27 has a UI, and Akash hasn't built a UI ever, actually. The UI that's built on Akash is built by a community. It's CloudMos that became Akash console. It's a random community member built it. Akash website is built by a community. I mean, none of the clients right now, including the website, is built by the core team of Akash. Right? I mean, these members became part of the core team eventually, but not originally, right? So, and that's a core thesis for us. Like, fiat is important. We absolutely, there's no doubt. I mean, if you look at our conversion rates, when we look at people clicking on, I want GPUs to actually deploying, is like 99% drop off every time they need to install a wallet. We see the data. But instead of us solving, our community solve the problem, because that way, us in the sense of core team, that way the core team is not competing with our ecosystem, number one. And that way we have the ecosystem incentive for the folks to go solve this problem, right? That's how you build a long-lasting or large communities, right? Or else, if we solve fully, we end up being an AOL. One of the most important parts of internet, the reason why internet was successful, the reason why Web3, www was successful, is because Tim Berners-Lee did not start a browser company.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, totally agree.
AOL owned the browser and the protocol. Yeah, they got an advantage early to move fast, because with closed source, you can move really fast. But with open standards and open protocols, you can go much further.
It is sort of amazing the way I was around in those days too, and I was at Delphi Internet, which was a competitor owned by News Corp. to AOL, Prodigy, CompuServe, all those things. And it really did look like an online service was going to win in those days because people looked at the internet and it was like really rough around the edges. There was no good UI. Nobody really knew how to use it. It didn't hold the user by the hand. And, the thinking was this thing will never take off. And the exact opposite happened where it was such an unstoppable force because it was open. And it took over and it crushed AOL and CompuServe and all those things. And weirdly, Bitcoin sort of repeated that trajectory, right? Because it had a really shitty user interface for a long time. It's not consumer friendly, and yet that also became an unstoppable force despite all of those things, right? So yeah, I feel that one.
Very deep study on the subject. Now, I don't know if you look at my GitHub, but you should if you take a look at my GitHub. I'm known, I've written some libraries that have been trending on like Golang categories on when you go. I was trending about TensorFlow at one point in my life. Several libraries, not one time. I've written 3 or 4 libraries that have been top 10, top 20 trending most of the time, right? A lot of my libraries make things easy to use. They're used by HashiCorp, Terraform, right? They're used by Kubernetes today. AWS CLI uses my command line libraries, right? So if you use AWS CLI, you use Akash code, by the way. So,
wow.
So I'm known in the space for writing beautiful, simple to use tools. That's my thing. But if you look at Akash, it is the opposite. Because I thought about it very deeply. I've been writing code for 25 plus years now. And most of the time, for last, I would say 13 years, my primary editor is Vim. Vim, the arcane old editor. It's not an IDE. It is a text editor, right? But I use it like an IDE. And if you think about it, Vim is probably one of the most hardest software you can use. When you try to open Vim and try to get out of it,
No, it is. It is hard.
Right? You don't use mouse. You use your keyboard. You don't use.
You're talking about VI, right? You're calling it Vim, but VI. Yeah, I use that, dude. I used that shit in the 80s.
And the reason I'm asking to tell you about the Vim story is because it is not always the easiest to use products win. It is usually the products that have cognitive coefficiency of over 1. What that means is if the value perceived over cognitive load required is greater than 1, the product will be successful. Vim, the value I know, because once I know the Vim, I'm very fast at it.
You're very fast. No, that is true. That is true. Learning all the little shortcut keys, you're the king. It's way faster than a mouse if you know your way around it like that.
Yeah, Vim stands for VI improved.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because VI was the last time I used it. Yeah. All right, Greg. I know I've been stalling you on your demo here for a while now, so here it is. You have the floor. Right. Give us a demo.
Great. So you go to Akash network. There are super ways to get to the client, and click on one of these buttons. You can see H100s available. We have 37 H100s available for $1.40, right? And click on it, rent now.
Yeah, and again, this shit is 1/5 the cost of everybody else.
So it depends. So you go to so GPUs are not as cheap because they're in high demand. So it depends on resources, right? If you go to compute, yes, it's fair.
Yeah, that definitely is crazy cheap.
$5.83.
It's crazy, right? Why? It's amazing.
You can
how much cheaper this is.
All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But GPUs are not. I guess.
Okay, so that's not.
Well, in some GPUs, H100s, if you're lucky, you can get H100s on Amazon. You pay $12 per hour per H100s. Here you're paying $1.50, which is also crazy, right? But even for $12, you don't get it on Amazon. But in some cases you have, it varies. But yeah, you may get lucky if you're looking for the right resources. But let me show you a simple deployment, right? I click deploy here. There's this repo called Awesome Akash, where a lot of folks contribute. The community essentially contributes lots applications.
Okay, wait. You're going really fast here, so let's slow down a little bit because I think the absorption rate is probably, yeah. Okay, so basically, I just came to this site and I'm like, I want to do a thing, and they're like, all right, it's like Squarespace, like here's a bunch of predefined templates we have, so pick one.
Yeah.
Right. So far, so good. Okay.
Predefined templates, exactly. You can go build your own, but want to start off something simple, right? Now, start off with Tetris. Tetris is like such a easy game to show as a demo.
Yep.
This is this is really let me see, the Tetris 2 I think has got better. Click on deploy here. I'm going to do all this stuff, but this is the SDL file I was talking about. It talks about the container, what port I need to expose, what resources I need, CPU, GPU, whatnot, and where I want to place it. There's also a visual builder for me to easily add if I want GPUs and whatnot, but
Right. So that's your configuration language. That's what you were just showing us just now.
Correct.
So that's where I describe exactly what I want to the system.
Right. You can pay using AKT, which is a native currency, or USDC. So the second.
Oh, I can use USDC also. Okay. So in AKT, so is the price is denominated in dollars, even if I use AKT, right? So okay.
Yeah. So if you use AKT, it's denominated AKT. If you use dollars, USD is denominated in USD. The only difference is AKT, you get volatility.
Right. That's what I'm saying is the price that I put up there. All right. When the bids come back, they're priced in dollars, and then if I want to pay in AKT, it's whatever the value of AKT in dollars is at that moment. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
During the place in the bid, but they don't change.
Yeah.
As a workload continues. So if you say you are paid for 10 AKT per hour, it's going to be 10 AKT per hour throughout the lease.
I see. Okay. So it is actually denominated in AKT. Okay, got it.
I understand. But if you choose USDC, it's denominated in USDC. You don't get the volatility. But there's an extra fee you got to pay because AKT is a native and USDC, you pay 20% take fee.
Okay.
To the thing, right? So for renting out the Akash service. So there's a little deposit you're required to make to secure your workload. And you see here is on-chain. I approve the transaction. You can go into it. This is literally creating, I'll show you the transaction as well so you know what exactly.
Is that Kepler wallet? Is that a Chrome wallet?
Yeah, it's a Chrome wallet. It's the standard Cosmos wallet, essentially, right?
Yep.
For every Cosmos chain. So you see here, this transaction is placed, right? I can see only anonymized information, only the resource information goes on chain. It doesn't, not your application or configuration or any of that stuff, because that's obviously very private, right? And now I get a bunch of bids. Really, I get.
Oh wow! So those bids came back really fast.
Very good. Okay.
How did that happen? Is that part of it automated?
Yes, these are different providers right now. Akash, like Foundry, for example, right? Foundry is a very popular company. They're owned by DCG. They're owned by DCG, which owns Grayscale, right? They're one of the largest providers on Akash, and they're running.
So they just have like a robot on their end that says, "All right, listen for inbound requests, and when they come in, bid this and give it back to them." Is it like that?
Yes. Yeah. So on the provider side, you have Kubernetes running, right? Kubernetes has, there's a daemon in Kubernetes, the Akash daemon that's running and watching out for new leases. You subscribe to the order book, and once you see a buy order or a deployment order, we call it, and you make a bid essentially.
Yeah, like an RFP, request for proposal, basically.
Yeah.
And all the proposals. So I just didn't. I thought like a bunch of humans would have to see it and respond. And when I saw 20 bids come in right away, I was like, oh wow, those must be bots, obviously.
Yeah.
So okay.
I click accept bid here. A human is choosing what bid they want. This is not automated. We can automate it based on certain parameters, but again, depending on your workload, you want that flexibility, right? So I just select a provider and be like, look, this is the this $2 a month on Foundry.
Super cool.
And I can get all kinds of information about the provider, uptime, and who that is, and audit it, and all that good stuff. But it's really that simple. It's deployed now. I can just click on leases, and I click this guy right here,
and boom,
it has a game deployed.
Off you go.
Once you have crypto. If you don't have crypto, you got to go to Coinbase. Get Kepler, go to Coinbase, get crypto. That's the challenging part if you're in the US. And Akash is US. I mean, our exchanges are very US, right? I mean, Coinbase or Kraken, we don't have too much Asian presence. But, most of our users tend to be US as well. So it's like.
So where do I get AKT? Like if I don't have AKT, where do I get that?
You can go to Coinbase or Kraken.
Oh, Coinbase has it. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Coinbase and Kraken has. Coinbase is the biggest exchange for Akash. I'll show you the cool part is like, I want to do something that I have never done before.
Yeah, please.
Yesterday, Meta announced Llama 3, which is a new model.
Yep.
Right. I'm going to deploy Llama 3 for the first time on Akash. I'm community deployed, but I'm deployed personally. I'm going to deploy Llama 3 for the first time in front of your audience.
Do it.
So I have a pre-configured Olama. Olama is like a package file here, and I uploaded the file. I don't know the resource requirements. I'm just going to run it.
Hope it works. Hope it fits. Okay.
Right. Olama. Let me look up the Llama 3. Let's look at this. I'm going to just say Llama. Just a mixture here. I put Llama 3. Put Llama 3 so I didn't. Okay. Let's try this. Create deployment. Okay. Now I'm getting into GPU, so you'll see the magic here a little bit.
Yep.
Earlier it was a simple workload. This is a lot more complex. I think it's a 70 billion parameter model. But let me see if I have enough. Oh, okay. I'm going to select the smaller model because I forgot to set the disk size to larger.
Yep. No worries.
Here I got a bunch of bits. I have H100, A100, A40, whatever, right? So I'm going to just, H100 tends to be the biggest and the beefiest machine. So let's go for it. Click approve. Fingers crossed, demo gods. Let's do this.
Well, looks like it's working.
Yeah, it works all the time. I don't know if my configuration is right for me. Akash never fails me. That's one confidence that I have. One of the key things about decentralized systems we don't talk much about is the resiliency they have. Like Akash has been online for 3 years, has not gone down a single time.
That is amazing.
It's amazing, right? It's like
it is.
Yeah, we don't have the scale of Amazon, but the confidence that you have and there's never going to fail you is just next level. And yeah, now it's pulling the weights. It's pulling the model.
Yep.
It's gonna take a little second. Maybe you can skip this part in your.
Yeah, I can speed this up.
Speed this up a little bit.
If this was 3-body problem, I'd put my hand on the ground. Yeah. So let me while we're waiting for this to happen. So how many providers are there in your system? I think I read 56 somewhere, but my other information was wrong. So maybe that's wrong too. But how many sort of people are on the supply side?
It says 79 active providers on the mainnet right now.
79, I think you said? Yes. Okay.
It's right now here, visible.
Ah, there we go. So 79. Oh, and that's where they're located around the world. Very nice.
You can see all the capabilities. You can see who the providers. Everything is very transparent. Akash. It's all on chain, by the way. So.
Yep. Okay.
You can, and stats are all public, open source, right? So everything is like verifiable. You can see everything, every aspect of it.
Oh, there we go. You can see the speed. You can see everything.
Everything, like is amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful things you get.
Oh, 80. There's now 80. One came online while we've been here.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me fire up my console.
Now, anybody can be a provider here, right? Like this is totally permissionless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can be a provider. You don't need to be audited. Like a lot of the stuff is not audited here. Like this guy's not audited. They said no, right? These are all like private, non-docs essentially. There are a few docs ones, but most of them are not docs, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Where is this guy right here? Okay, so I have this terminal. Sorry, my shell is not. This is a new computer, so I haven't set up my shell yet. But let's see where we are with the workloads. So good deployments and Llama 3. Look at the logs here. Very, very close. Once it's 100%, I'll be able to query the success. Okay, so you pull the model. I'm going to call it. This takes a little second. There's a warm up time for models. The
Yep.
first always takes much long. Oh, sorry. So I literally copy pasted this provider thing from here, from this, from
Okay.
this, right? And I'm just doing a curl. Like I said, this is going to take a minute or two to respond. The first one always, because the model has to warm up. But once it's hot, it's very fast after that. So maybe we can, this part we can.
I can speed up time by placing my hand on the ground again.
It's a lot of fun. So it's like once you're in Akash, it's super simple. I mean, you see how fast it is. It's very easy. It's got a lot of very powerful features it's way faster than Amazon. You can literally compare any other like web deployment tool with Akash next to next. You'll see how fast.
Right, because you don't have all the authentication. You don't have that big fat layer that Amazon has, all the security. Because you're just basically going, they have a much fatter model because it's more fully featured.
It's asynchronous, right? So you sign the package and you send it off. So failure rates are very low when it's asynchronous because there's always retries, right? So you don't have network lockups. You don't have any of these like TCP/IP like bullshit overhead you get with asynchronous stuff. Like the request, the synchronous request response cycle stuff. So it's very, very fast and very easy to use.
Yeah,
like you fire and forget kind of thing, right? So this takes a second. While this comes up, I am going to and you can also like cool thing is you can shell in, right? You can just type bash here, NVIDIA SMI tells you what kind of GPU that I have assigned. So verify that I have the GPU is working very, very hard right now, so it's going to be like a little slower.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's a pokey ass command line, but okay, that makes sense.
There you go. So this is a NVIDIA H100. I have a confirmation. It's going to take a few minutes. Yeah. Well, this is a.
Well, let's talk a little bit while we're waiting for this. So, who else is doing this? And is there like I seem to recall there's some people on Solana. There's something called IONet on there that I think is similar, but maybe not. Is there anyone else doing this? And it also feels like you and your crew are sort of very deep experts in cloud computing, more so than I was even guessing. And so, does anybody else have that expertise?
Yes. So Akash is the only general purpose compute network. That means deploying Minecraft, like you just saw, deploying WordPress, deploying a machine learning workload. You can deploy anything and everything under the planet that you can deploy on Amazon Akash.
Yeah.
Akash is the only network that's capable of doing that, decentralized, in the decentralized arena. The closest network that comes close to Akash is Flux. And Flux is only big difference between Akash and Flux is the orchestration and the backend. Akash uses Kubernetes. Flux has their own. And Akash comes with orchestration and the granularity and that selection process that Flux doesn't give you the optionality. You can get random servers. And Flux is permissionless for providing compute, but permission for workloads. In the sense, like you need to get an approval from Flux DAO, I believe, to deploy any application. So you can't just like deploy your own container. You need to get an approval, and there is that process. And that's a little challenging for, I don't know, waking up in the middle of the night and just like, I want to deploy something, right? Like, so it's not free in terms of what you can deploy. And then there is a whole lot of GPU networks that are like very GPU specific, machine learning specific, specialized networks, right? So, and I believe now we have a lot of clones. It's very hard to pick one particular clone, but I'll tell you from a broad standpoint, every new stuff that's coming right now is closed source.
Okay.
And it's permissioned. So
and is permissioned. Okay.
That means you need to sign up, you need to log in, you need
right
to well, you didn't get someone's approval to do things. They just don't give it to you. And um, and also questions like why do you need a token, all the other stuff. But let's put that aside. Like, okay, a lot of the networks actually have a token, but the token has nothing to do with the protocol. And in fact, you can use the network without the token, right?
Right.
So I don't think there's anything permissionless in GPU networks that are coming out lately. I've seen here and there pop up, but nothing that has a capability in the orchestration that Akash has, right? Like, so you may have like a permissionless GPU network. I think I saw Asana, I believe, is another thing. I can't recall, but one of them had actually you can use your wallet to deploy. Only one
Yeah,
of them.
there's a couple on Solana that are popping up now that I've seen. So, and then your universe is permissionless, but it's also based upon your own chain. So how many validators? How decentralized is that chain? How many validators are there, and all that?
Yeah, so MintScan will give you all the real-time information, right? So MintScan.io. Let's see, the demo is not working. And Llama also came out yesterday, so
Yeah.
I haven't deployed it, so it's going to say. So MintScan will give you a lot of validators, who's there. Akash has about 230, 100 active validators and 137 in standby.
Yeah.
These go down, but these are different validators.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yes, fairly decentralized, right? Like, every aspect is again on chain. Like, there's quite a lot of, I guess, on chain community funds that are $16 million. So people apply for this. All kinds of things happen. Like, all the events are done by the community. A lot of the development is directly, it's done by the community, right? Like, so if someone has an idea to improve Akash, they put a proposal, and they get funded and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's very, Akash is run by these like special interest groups, right? Which is self-organizing communities. So Overclock Labs, the company that created Akash, can disappear today, and Akash will run.
Got it.
So we set it up in a way where there are no product meetings that are private in Akash. Right? Or so every product meeting happens in the public, happens regularly, depending on which special interest group is in charge of the feature, or whatever, right? And all those meetings are published on chain on Arweave actually. And if you go to Akash's repo, you'll be able to see the community repo, all the meetings, and every meeting is like, there's a video recording of it, there's a transcript of it, they're like summarized notes. So if you actually click on them, you'll see exactly what happened.
Right.
So even if you miss a meeting, you can come back and use. And we use a lot of AI to summarize what happened. Like, I'll be like, okay,
Yep.
give me the important points, what happened in the last 3 steering committee meetings, and you'll get all the information. So
yeah, it's super cool.
So it's very, very transparent. Anybody can make a proposal, and if your proposal gets shot down for funding, you'll know exactly why. So there's no cabal sitting and like making those decisions for you, that sort of stuff. So
okay, all right.
So this Llama 3 is not working, but
okay. So unfortunately, the magic demo didn't work as we hoped, but that's okay. We know it works.
Yeah,
the demo gods were not totally with us today.
No, it did deploy. It's just a Llama because
it's just taking time to fire itself up.
I did deploy Mistral earlier, so I'm not cheating.
Yeah.
I'll show you here. What?
Okay. Well, let's. We're coming up on the hour here, so sorry. Are you gonna show me?
Yeah, there you go. It worked.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
The decentralized currency. I just did that curl right here. H100.
Very nice. So you've now proven that it works.
It works.
All right. Well, the demo gods came through at the last minute. So we're sort of topping up at the top of the hour here. So before we go, is there where are your websites? Where can people find you online? What do you want to plug?
Akash.network is our website, and you can find me online on Twitter. I'm very, very active. Greg Osury is my handle. If our announcement, we have our first ever Akash Accelerate conference happening during consensus, one day before consensus in Austin on 23rd May. We have incredible speakers. Eric Voorhees just confirmed that he's going to be speaking. It's mostly geared towards decentralized AI and crypto AI. So if you're in town, love for you to attend the event. If you go to our website, you'll find the details for the event. And it's going to be a lot of very news research. It's going to be a lot of very thoughtful, deep crypto AI focused conference. We're going to have Morpheus, and we're going to have a whole lot of BitTensor, obviously, right? So I want to bring everybody together, and we also have lots of events during consensus. So Austin now is becoming the hometown for decentralized AI. We have a lot of folks from News, from BitTensor, from Morpheus, David Johnston. Those folks, all of them are based out in Austin for some reason. So all the decentralized protocols ended up, just coming to Austin, and we are in fact getting a decentralized AI hub established here in collaboration with University of Texas, and the professor of engineering is very supportive of all decentralized AI. So we're starting a hub here. So if you're doing anything decentralized, you're looking for financing, you're looking for a place to work, if you're looking for free GPUs, come talk to us. And
cool.
Get decentralized AI rolling, and hopefully, and with Llama 3, open source has gotten as powerful as closed source now. So there's nothing that has to stop decentralized AI now. So,
okay. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has all been super fascinating. Once again, my name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.